Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we've got the massive HGUC Psycho Gundam Mk-II has finally arrived, and I'm really excited to build this one. So I've not built the Psycho Gundam, the original HGUC kit, but I have built parts of this kit, I guess, already with a couple of releases, both in the HG Typhos Gundam review as well as the HG Advance of Zeta kit. It was the Goplant that had the arms from this, right? Anyway, it's always super cool when Bandai releases these very large kits like this in the HG line. We do get them from time to time, and they're always a lot of fun. So this one, as you can see, is in this massive box, and it's going to be a pretty big kit when it's all said and done. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get right into the Psycho Gundam Mk-II. And so one of the great things about having a big box means big box art, and Bandai really taking full advantage of this huge size on the front to really emphasize the massiveness of the Gundam there. It looks super cool. You got the Zeta Gundam here in the foreground, and then some awesome Titans cameos there in the background with the Palace Athene. You got a Hyzak there, up there. We got a Marasai, and even the Bondoc right there. So a lot of really cool stuff in the box art here. But yeah, the Psycho Gundam taking front and center with that beautiful painting here for the illustration with all the lighting effects and everything on there. Looks super, super nice. This big old box is number 261 in the HGUC lineup. And here on the bottom of the box, we can see how the kit is going to look when it's all built and painted up there, front and back. Of course, it does transform to the mobile armor mode. And we have the parts for making the damaged head in there, which is super cool. Very nice. Thank you, Bandai-san. And then we've got a couple of action poses over here, showing that we do have some included action bases in that for giving you like the full effect of the wire-guided beam hands and all that. We've got the included reflector bits in here as well, and there you can kind of see how that's going to be looking. Again, kind of very similar to like what we saw with the Typhos Gundam HG kit, except that, you know, it's just a full Psycho Gundam Mk-II now. On the top side of the box, highlighting the weapons, which is all these beam emitters there all around the Gundam, different details around like the eyes, the hands, and the weapons, and details like the shield, and again, the damaged head parts and all that. So the detail on it looks really, really nice for being such a massive HG. They didn't skimp on the details, which is awesome. We got some text here about the Gundam there in Japanese and in English. Another really cool shot right there with the painted kit and this effect of the beam emitter there in the stomach. It's probably actually called like a beam cannon or something, I suppose, right? But let's go ahead and pop open the box and check out all of our purple contents inside. So we've got a nice big bag here for a couple of beam saber effect parts. We're gonna have a good amount of those, obviously, but we'll take a look through all of the runners here in just a moment. Just want to first check out the instruction manual. And I love that for these massive HG kits, they still stick to the same format for the instruction manuals of HGUC kits, having just like this nice sample image of the painted kit here on the front with some information over here talking about the height, weight, armaments, and all that good stuff. So as you can see from our painted sample build there, it just looks really nice with a lot of really nice details on there. So we really can't wait to see this one all built up. Around on the back side, more about the mobile armor form right there. You can see it's actually not just sat on the ground, but actually elevated because of its connection there to the action base, which we do have included. So again, about the weapons, details, and the color guide down there at the bottom. On the center pages here, we've got some more information about the Gundam and its different weaponry and everything here. So that's all there in Japanese and in English. More different HGUC kits from the series, from Zeta Gundam there. With a lot of these releases ranging from the recent releases like the Bolonak Saman to some of the older kits like the Palace Athene, both of which of those I've actually recently reviewed though, so check out all of those reviews if you've missed any of them. But let's go ahead and check out here our parts list, and then the rest of the manual is just gonna all be our construction. Here's a pretty hefty manual though, as you might expect. It means a big kit, lots of parts. And we also have to cover the transformation in here as well. So there's quite a lot to the manual, including building the action bases, the shields, how to display all the parts and everything. So, and then there's the transformation, like I said. So a lot to go over in the manual there. All right, and here we've also got our foil stickers, which you'll be pleased to see is very, very minimal. Basically stickers for the eyes and then some black stickers to go in some of like the beam emitters, and that's pretty much it. So that's nice. We've also got our 2 gray wires for the hands. Each one of these is about 24 centimeters in length, and they're pretty sturdy. They seem to hold the shape pretty well there. Then getting into the runners, we do not have any polycaps, but we have plenty of beam saber effect parts. This is SB13 for our 144 scale scale beam saber effect parts in yellow. As you can see, we've got 2, 4, 6 of those, giving us a total of 12 of those beam effect parts. Then we've got 2 of these as well, SB11 for these larger style beam saber effect parts here, also in clear yellow. And our included clear action bases, so we've got 3 of these large base plates here, including one for the arm. I think this is action base 4 that we've got here in clear with the 3 base plates. Then we've also got 2 of these BA16 runners here for the smaller style action bases, basically like these smaller effect display parts here that we're going to use for the reflector bits, so that'll come in handy certainly. Then for our main runners for the kit here on runner A, we do have a couple parts there in black, a couple parts up here in like a metallic pink for the eyes, and then 2 different shades of purple, one kind of like a more pure purple and one in kind of a bluish purple color over here, which is going to be our color for like all of the inner frame and joint type parts there. So runner B1 and B2 is going to be some more of that here, with B2 being a copy of this half of the runner right there. Runner C, interestingly, is another 4-color runner here with some yellow-orange parts up there at the top, red down here, and then our main purple color of armor and our bluish purple color of the inner frame. Runner D, we have 2 of for some more parts there in the bluish purple color. Runner E1 is going to be our parts for the hands in a light kind of tannish gray color here. You can see we're going to have those fully articulated hands and fingers like we've had in previous releases that did include the arms. Runners F and G then going to be a couple of larger runners with some of our big purple armor pieces on it. There you can see obviously parts for the legs there on runner G, and that's going to continue here onto runner H as well. We've got 2 of the H runner for some more parts for the legs and feet, it looks like. Runner I, we also have 2 of for some more purple parts here, large parts for the shield and some other smaller bits on there as well. I think I was mistaken actually. I was saying before that that bluish purple color is the color for the frame. Actually, it's just like a secondary accent color for the armor. Actually, this lighter grayish tan color that we saw like for the hands is going to be the color for the joints and the frame kind of. So this is runner J, which we also have 2 of. Then we got runners K1 and K2 here for some more of our joint and frame type parts there. Runner L2 we have 2 of for a few more bits there in purple. Runners M1 and M2, some more parts here in red. And lastly, runners N1 and N2 is going to be a bunch of parts here in that yellow-orange color, and that's it. So as you can see, we've got a lot of parts here for this kit. Let me go ahead and get this all put together and we'll check it out. Alright guys, and here it is all built up, very large here of course, as you can see. It sort of feels a bit like holding a Turbo Man doll, something like that, very big kind of toy like this, but it's a really nice build. If you missed out on the live stream of this build, you can go back and check that out, but it was pretty fun. There was a couple of points that kind of got me hung up, especially like on the hip section. I'll talk some more about that, but that's just entirely user error. Just I kind of missed something in the manual and just kind of was in the middle of talking and not really paying that close attention to the building process. Otherwise, the model kit, I mean, by itself, it's great. Fantastic construction that you have almost no seam lines, really great color separation, and a pretty awesome kit here. And it's going to be, of course, fully transformable and comes with some cool stuff. So let's go ahead and start off here taking a look at the included accessories. And just to give you a sense of the size here, we've got a head height of, around 29, almost 30 centimeters in height. And compared to a standard 144 scale size mobile suit here with the ARC 782 HG Revive Gundam, you can see it's definitely going to be very large. So as for our included accessories, of course, we have the damaged head here, which does look super cool. Like this whole side here is kind of blown away. The V-fin also itself is also kind of bent there. Otherwise, this side of the head, just kind of looks as normal. You do have a sticker there for the eye, but as you can see, it's a separate part in that kind of pearl pink color. So you don't really need to use that sticker for anything, but you can use that if you want. The sticker would probably reflect the light a little bit better than the part, but you have it as a separate part there, and some really cool detail inside the face. Interestingly enough, that sort of like a mechanical eyeball detail you actually have inside the regular head as well. You just can't see it obviously because ultimately it ends up getting all covered up, but a cool option part to have included for sure. We also have our 12 clear beam effect parts here that each of these are going to just fit into the fingers and thumbs of the kit here like this. There you go for the full beam effect of the hand. But of course we can also switch out the hand here by making the hand into a fist here, and this whole section should kind of slide down. There you go, like that. If you pull it too hard by the hand, you'll just pop the hand out. You kind of have to wiggle it a bit, but then that will rotate like so, and then this exposes our larger beam emitter here for our larger beam effect part. And so we have 2 of these, 1 for each side. This will just plug into the forearm basically there, like that, for a large beam saber sort of beam emitter right there. Then if we just remove the arm here entirely, just below the elbow joint, we can use one of our 2 wire sets here, which has some pieces that you need to plug on there at the end, basically one to fit in there where we took the arm off, and the other one to fit onto here to have the effect of the hand flying around on this wire guided system here. And then you can use the beam effects with that if you want, or just kind of have it flying around there like that to grab onto a foe. Now the wire itself is not strong enough to hold up the hand, so if you go on here onto the underside, you flip this switch down and not out entirely. Once it's out like that, then you can connect this onto a base to have it floating around like that, just connected onto an action base. We do, of course, have some bases included, which we'll take a look at here in a second, but here on the side of the arm, if you flip up this little bit right here, that's our connection point for the shield. The shield itself, very large, just looking like a flip phone, as I mentioned during the live build. This very huge section here, this of course can be separated into 2 sections, and that's mostly going to be used for the transformation. If you take out this piece here in the middle that holds them together, they can separate and also be separated like this. As I said, that's for the transformation gimmick. That said, there is a new original gimmick that you're meant to be able to do here with the plastic model that I guess wasn't a thing in the series or something, but you can flip that all the way around like so, and then go here onto the shoulder and flip this part down here like that, out like that, and then plug this into the side of the arm there like that. Just kind of another way to basically kind of store the shields when it's in the mobile suit form like that. You can have both halves on the sides of the shoulders there, kind of cool. But when this is connected in full, you have this connection piece which will just plug right into the side of the arm there where we opened up that little switch, and then it's got its shield that it can use like that. Kind of interesting that it has a shield but no other like handheld weapon, like a large handheld cannon or something. All of its weaponry is just kind of built into the body. You would think that it kind of maybe wouldn't really need this huge massive shield like that as well. But lastly then, we've got all of the bits. You've got a bunch of these, and you can store some of them here in the backpack just by sliding this part down like that. You can see there's 2 spots in each side that these can be plugged into for storage. So that's going to look like that, and then you can still close that up to keep them in there for a more like a realistic storage option. But ultimately you can just not have those in there if you're not going to display this in a way that's going to be open at all. Because then, alternative to the bits in the closed form here, we also have the bits in their open form, and then these you can just use the back end here as a hard point for plugging it again onto a display sort of stand or an effect stand or something, or you could plug an effect part into the back there to like the blast effect part. That's not included with this, unfortunately, but we do have some included display stands, and that being basically 2 of these with like the stand there at the bottom, and then this long arm with a few different spots here to be able to plug these. So ultimately you could plug them onto basically anywhere where there's a joint or this little hole here. You can plug a effect stand like a connection piece onto there, and then you can make this in any combination that you want. You can make this shorter, or you can use, you know, fewer of these pieces. You can use as many of them as you want, but this is like the full form that you have of these, and you've got 2 of those to basically make it how it looks in the advertisements, where it's 2 right behind the Gundam, and I'll show that to you here in just a second. But we also have our action base here, which is meant to hold up the main kit. So it doesn't use an action base connector, it just has this part here which just plugs right into the kit directly, and it can hold it according to the manual in both mobile suit form and in mobile armor form. And considering the size, I'm not sure how well it's really going to be able to do that. So let's try it out here. So up underneath, you can see there's a little switch with a door there that you can slide open to reveal the hard point there for the action base. And if we adjust the height accordingly to hold it up in some sort of elevated pose, let's try this. This is still actually not tall enough because I have the arm of the base extended, but the feet are still touching the ground. But let's say you wanted to have the feet raised up in a sort of jumping sort of pose or something. If I just try to get into a position where the arm is about as high as it can go up, and the mobile suit is not obviously in like a logical pose, but just something so that its feet aren't touching the ground, just to see if the arm itself can hold up the weight of the kit here. You can see it's going to be kind of like bouncing around, but also the back end's coming up off the ground, just trying to support the weight of that. It's going to be very heavy, so I think I would count on the base, not really so much as a way to support the kit in like a flying pose, although it looks like it could kind of do it, but you're probably going to be using that more so as just a way to keep the kit balanced if it were in a pose where maybe there, I don't know, maybe something more like this, where it's a pose that would kind of be hard for the kit to balance just on its own, but the base just kind of helps it to not fall over, essentially. I think that's going to be kind of like the main role of the base. It might work better just to keep the kit elevated, just for the illusion that it's floating while in mobile armor mode, and we'll try that out here in just a second once we transform it. Anyway, just on the main kit then, the color separation is really nice. As I mentioned about the not needing the stickers for the eyes, the same thing goes for the regular head here. Again, you do have stickers for that if you want, but even for like the little color apps, like the little red inside the kind of front head cameras there, the gray of the vents on the side of the head. So the color separation here in the head is really good. That's just kind of a thing that Bandai does, especially when it comes to the heads. Even on like the back side, if I just pop this off here for a second or turn that around there, you can see we even have like color separation of the yellow verniers there on the back underside of the head, as it does function as the escape pod for the mobile suit. But it's really good color separation here. The only thing that we really use the stickers for on the body is just for the black little circles on the inside of some of the cannons. It's like these three up here on the shoulder, here in the front skirts and the side skirts, you're going to use black stickers for in the center of those, and then here on the legs as well, the front one on the knee, and then these three on the side of the legs, there's black stickers inside there just for the little black dots inside. It's super easy to just paint that in yourself if you didn't want to use the stickers at all. And then another nice thing about the construction is that a lot of the connections use a lock system. So like here for the arm, it's locked into place, it can't come off. This joint can extend out a little bit there like that, which is pretty cool, but the only way to get the arm off is to rotate it completely upside down, and then that's how this is actually connected onto there. You can see the way that this end part is shaped. There's a little notch there that only fits in this one position, and then once it's rotated, it's locked into there and it won't come off. So there's a lot of that used here on this kit, which is awesome, especially on like a larger kit. You don't want anything like kind of popping off on you. Now, I mentioned I did have a little bit of an issue here with this part where the top of the leg kind of connects into the top of the thigh here. That's just because I thought that that kind of gray rim part there was supposed to be inside the leg, and there is a way to make it so that it's inside there, but then that doesn't allow for the thigh to rotate here at the top. And so eventually, thanks to some help in the chat, we figured out that I was just not paying attention to the instructions well enough, and that there is a way to basically make it like that. It's also really cool that the legs can also kind of extend out a bit like that. I think that's also for the transformation, but the hips do extend out, or you can keep it in there like that. But you do have some nice articulation in that the legs are actually able to separate out there pretty far and rotate here at the top. Here at the knee, you've got a double joint there in the knee that will give you a pretty full bend there as well. For the feet, the ankles are connected via a joint that will give you a little bit of side-to-side movement there. Also, front and back is going to be sort of minimal, but even underneath the feet, you've got full detail there. Of course, as you saw there just a moment ago, the skirts sections are individually articulated, the front skirts there. And again, it's all kind of part of the transformation, but the side skirts here as well. The back skirts do not move just because they don't really need to for the transformation. This part here moves for the transformation. And then again, as you saw a moment ago, the shoulders will extend out a little bit. That will increase the range of movement forward and back here of the shoulders, which is pretty nice. And then you've got a double joint in the elbow that gives you a pretty nice full bend there. So the articulation, the color separation, everything all is really nice with this one. Let's try taking a look at the kit in some different poses here. Now, I don't think I missed anything regarding any of the other gimmicks of the kit, although it doesn't necessarily really have a lot of gimmicks. There was a couple little bits there that I showed you, and they are pretty nice. But ultimately with this kit, kind of its main gimmick is just going to be that transformation, which we'll take a look at here. The transformation is fairly straightforward and looks really cool. It's still going to be very large in its transformed state, and that, I think, aside from everything else that this kit does have going for it, is going to be one of the biggest selling points for a kit like this. A lot of times, you know, people just want to get it just because it's impressive, just because of the size of it, and I can definitely agree with it being a very large and impressive kit. That certainly does make it very appealing to want to get and add in your collection. But aside from that, I mean, it is just a really nice kit. So it's not that it's just, you know, it's just big and it doesn't really have that much else going for it, but it is really nice, as we talked about there just a moment ago, going through some of the details of the construction and the color separation and everything. The only real seam line that you might really need to worry about is just for the center part of the backpack. There's a little bit of a seam line on that part. That's really kind of about it. Considering it's not very visible and could pretty easily just be turned into a panel line, I would say that's really not too much to be concerned about, as you've got some really nice accessories with this one. All the kind of basic accessories that you would think from the shield and the beam effect parts, but then having all the bits, having them in closed form and in open form, and having the included effect parts included that you can use to display the bits, to even having the destroyed head or the damaged head. That's definitely something that I maybe would not have expected them to include, but it was a very nice and welcome surprise to have that included with this kit as well. So it really does kind of come with everything that you could hope for. That said, I mean, you could use some more dynamic looking kind of funnel effect parts for some of the bits, or just around on the kit. I mean, there's definitely some cool effect parts that Bandai makes that you could get, that you could use with this, just to really kind of make it look that more dynamic with some of those effect parts, if that's something that you're interested in. That said, I think this kit looks really good straight out of the box. And on that note too, of just like the colors of it, it's almost entirely color accurate just as it is straight out of the box. I mean, you have to use a couple of those stickers just for like the little black circles here and there, but it's really not missing much in terms of the colors. They did a really good job getting pretty much everything represented here. It's, you know, kind of mostly a very purple design, but there's those little bits of red and yellow around in the design, and pretty much everything is well represented with just the plastic parts straight out of the box. So with a little bit of panel lining on there and some matte top coat, and I think it would look very, very good without fully painting it. But of course, you know, fully painting, I think it is going to look pretty nice if you can get a nice like shading on there and everything to like really help to kind of enhance the look of the size of it, to really give it a sense of scale. And of course, posing it with other Gunpla, you know, of the same scale, just to see like how a regular 1/44 scale Gundam looks in comparison. You know, it's definitely going to stand out, and I think the kit looks fantastic. The proportions, the details on it, they did a really good job on this one. And if you're a fan of the designs, definitely one that I could recommend for you guys to check out. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about this one? I'm always excited for Bandai to make more just HGUC kits of any variety, but especially it's cool when they make these large mobile armor ones. Seems like we've gotten a couple as of late with the Destroy Gundam and now this one. Really hoping that at some point in the near future we may see an HGUC Big Zam. That's kind of my hope, and I wonder why we have not seen one yet, but hopefully maybe sometime soon we may. But what other mobile armors would you guys like to see new model kits of? Maybe let me know in the comment section down below there. But if you want to check out this kit and more Gunpla, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. Got lots of great stuff there on the website for you guys to check out. And as always, really appreciate your guys' support, whether you're leaving a like here on the video, if you enjoyed it, making sure that you're subscribed. If you're not yet subscribed, I really thank you guys so much. But until next time, hope y'all are having a great day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.